Another bear incident that only slightly involved me. On Kootenai Lake in southern BC, I lent my teepee to a friend when she needed a place to live. We put it up and she soon ran into bears bothering her camp. She borrowed a big Irish wolfhound and had it tied in camp when the bear wandered right into camp again. No harm done, but she decided to move to an old logging road just off the highway that looked like a good spot for teepee. She half woke from hearing tires breaking hard on the highway. She opened her eyes to see a claw tearing the canvas inches from her face. The bear was used to using the path, and the teepee surprised it. So my friend decided to move to town, and I was giving her a ride in heavy rain in the dark. I saw something on the road flash and swerved to miss it. And what I saw was a bear's feet running straight down the highway away from me. I turned my head as I passed, and the bear was as tall as my car door. When I was living in the bush up near there, an old friend dropped off a wrapped package of meat. I wasn't there, and my previously mentioned dog was very curious about this gift. It had some bones and short, round pieces. Tasted okay, but my dog wouldn't eat some of it. Next time I saw my friend, I asked him what he had dropped off. Turns out it was a raccoon he'd hit on the way up the lake. Taking after my granddad and growing up in a real blacksmith shop in southern Alberta, I always wanted to do blacksmithing. Although my dad had worked with my grandfather quite a bit when he was growing up, he never taught me anything about smithing. My granddaughters are the fifth generation Alberta blacksmiths who hit hot steel. Eventually I had to go down to southern Illinois to a blacksmith school down there to learn how to do smithing. When I came back to Alberta, I was trying to get a real blacksmithing business going. I also took a wheelwrighting course and started building replica medieval armor for the Society for Creative Anachronism to fight in. I loved the fighting in armor and end of it, as well as teaching others how to build their own armor. Eventually I got a job at a historic ranch in the Cariboo in BC on the basis that I could let people experience hitting hot steel. And in 10 years working there, people would come in and I would make a square nail and entice them to make one for themselves. I have probably made 200,000 nails in my career. I'll relate a couple other stories to blacksmithing, but first, as I promised, another bear story. It was fall and a 250-pound bear would graze the alfalfa fields behind my blacksmith shop. When he's hanging around, I would take tourists out back and show them this bear out there eating a quarter mile away. This went on for a week or two, and then I'm in my blacksmith shop, and I had a milk goat and a solid wood frame pen over by the riding stables about 150 yards away from me. I heard my goat screaming and realized it must be getting attacked by the bear. It had come across the creek, walked through a corral of saddled horses, then into another corral and back through it, where it must have smelled my goat. All this time, one of the wranglers was yelling at it and throwing rocks at it, and it wasn't doing anything to scare the bear away. The bear jumped over the fence, grabbed my goat by the spine, and by this time the wrangler just on the other side of the fence, where the bear was looking up at him while chewing on my goat. He threw a big fence rail at the bear, and it finally decided to leave my goat alone. By that time, I arrived on site, and the bear was watching me from the other side of the pen and decided to leave. Surprisingly, the goat wasn't in that bad a shape, but very nervous from then on. I put it in the barn, and wildlife told me to shoot the bear because it was just too many other bear problems around, and with all the tourists there, it was a very dangerous bear by that time. Morning and night, I would go out with my trusty 303 that I never missed and never shot twice at anything with. I had several sightings of the bear, but it was getting too dark, or I had to contend with the junction of two major highways. A week after my goat attack incident, one of my fellow workers came running into the blacksmith shop saying that the bear is coming up the creek right to where the goat used to be. I had a 5-shot clip for the 303, a box of shells, and with all the times I've been hunting, I forgot where I left my clip. So I grabbed my gun, I got some shells in my pocket, one in my mouth and one in the rifle. I'm running down the historic Cariboo Wagon Road through the tourist site in my blacksmithing apron and all the girls, tourists around, thought I was part of a show. So I turned the corner to go to the riding stable, and the bear was across the creek from me about 50 feet away and hadn't seen me yet. I shot it through the heart. I know it's going to not last very long, but just by coincidence, it runs across the creek straight towards me. By this time, I've got the shell out of my mouth and in the gun, and the bear stops, and the gun is literally touching the back of the bear's head when it fell over dead right at my feet. I didn't have time to look, but I guess there was a whole bunch of tourists that were chasing after me to see what kind of show I was putting on, and they were gone the other way by that time. I developed a reputation of a fearless great white hunter. Can I say that? When really I didn't want to waste another bullet. I gave bear meat to a bunch of the fellow workers there, and one friend served it to some people, and they said it was the best beef they'd ever had. Next time, a couple other close calls I had at the ranch of a different type.